Well, Coach, we had the show last week, just getting to know everybody, and now it's all starting for real tomorrow night tomorrow afternoon with Gardner Webb. I'm sure you're excited.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's real bullets time, as they like to say. So, and again, that back-to-back setup will give us a good chance to see, how we respond next week too in Charleston with the same, game, one game after another.
How have the last couple of days been as you gear up towards this game? As I'm sure the guys had that one game under their belt with the exhibition game, but
Yeah.
this is now it's all starting for real. What's it been like in practice?
Yeah, what you try to do is you try to sprinkle a little bit of each team because you don't really have a day prep in between like some tournament formats. So you try to see if you can sprinkle a little bit of each team into the days that are leading up to tomorrow. So as best you can, you try to do that. Sometimes by saying it, sometimes without saying it. But that's been what we've been trying to do. And the same thing and really focus on ourselves too, build our own intensity level on defense like we've been trying to do, and kind of get the details going with our execution and offensively and things like that. So you really try to hammer away at yourself, but you do want to focus on your opponent as well.
Coach, you've been an assistant for 18 years. Tomorrow's a big day in your career. Have you had enough time? I know you've been really busy. Have you had any time just to sit down and think about, this is a huge step in my career, my first for real game?
No.
Well, maybe a good
Probably
thing.
right now when you just brought it up. But no, ironically, tomorrow being the 12th, it'll be 7 months to the day since coming to Charlotte. So kind of funny, that it works out that way. And you never know till the ball goes up how you're going to feel. I mean, things have been happening so fast, but the focus has been the guys. I try not to think about myself too much, to make sure they're prepared and ready to go. So, it's just ironic that tomorrow will be 7 months to the day.
I know you've also been busy recruiting. You got some good news today, 3 signed letters of intent. Great news for Niner Nation. Can you talk a little bit about the 3 guys that you got signed now?
We can now,
right.
Which is good to have those letters. That's always exciting to see those things come through. And obviously Terrence, being a Charlotte kid, really excited about him. Terrence Williams from West Mac, for those who may not know.
Right.
Very excited. Hopefully he's the first of a lot of guys locally that continue to come to Charlotte. And it's a special thing when a local kid is on your roster because that means a little bit more to them, when you're playing for your hometown team. And Terrence and his family feel that way. And we're excited that they're excited,
I know a lot of us in this room are looking forward to go watch him play this year at West Mecklenburg. What have you seen that really impressed you about him?
I think the number one thing with him that's exciting, he loves to play the game. He's got an edge to him. He's a competitor. His game is more and more becoming more and more well-rounded. He was kind of maybe a shooter a couple years ago, just a catch-and-shoot guy, and now he's learned how to put it on the floor. And he's 6'4". He's probably going to be, by the time we get started next year after a summer of weights and all that, probably close to 200 pounds. And so, I think he can be a good defender as well. But I just love the kid because he loves to play. He's just got that sparkle in his eye when he's in the gym.
You also signed a young man, a small forward, I think. Maybe he can play more than one position.
Mm-hmm.
E. Victor Nickerson out of Georgia. Got a great name, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's 6'7" and really versatile. Can handle the ball, can play 2, 3, 4, a little bit of everything. But you like guys like that are interchangeable and they give you some versatility. And again, he's another, what is it now? It's a little bit after 8 o'clock. My guess is he's probably in the gym or on his way home from the gym. Because every time we talk to him, he's either on his way to or from. So he's got that love to play the game as well.
And the last guy that you signed today, a 6'10" center out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, Mike Thorin.
Mm-hmm.
Understand he's a late bloomer, but you see a lot of promise in him.
Yeah, very much so. And Mike's really young. He won't turn 18 till next May. And he's a big boy. I mean, 6'9" and a half, almost 6'9" and 3/4, close to 250 pounds right now. So, big old mitts and, big old dogs, size 18 shoes.
He's going to grow into
You put a rowboat in his shoes right now. But a nice kid, a great kid. He loves to work on his game. He's just raw enough, and he maybe hasn't been one of those guys that's been on the radar screen his whole life. And so you like that about him because he's still kind of a ball of clay.
I understand he had a really nice summer this year and played in the AAU National Championships down in Orlando. And
Yes.
you guys get in on him early, and he liked Charlotte.
Yeah, we were lucky too. You know, he came. We had an elite camp back in the summer, and so he attended that camp in June. So, kind of gave us a chance to take a peek before the month of July, which was good.
So you've got those three guys, and that's for the future, and that's certainly great. But now, of course, the present, what you have right now, and you got the games coming up the next couple of days, and Gardner Webb, kind of a local team just down the road.
Yep.
They have a new head coach as well. When you have a new system coming in like that, they've always been called the Running Bulldogs. You expect them still to be the Running Bulldogs tomorrow?
I think so. Yeah. We don't have a whole lot of information. I know the coach actually. He was at Ohio U. With a guy I used to coach with, a friend of mine, John Gross, who was at Ohio State as well. So, they'll be a team that can shoot the three if I knowing those guys like I know them. Try to drive you, kick you, shoot the three, probably play some pick and roll. So, but they'll be well coached. I know that. They'll be well coached. And I know, even though Chris hasn't been there very long, I know he's been into those guys pretty good in terms of trying to bleed his mentality into them.
Always been one of the teams too. That they had the surprise win a few years ago going to Kentucky. That was awfully big for their program.
Yeah.
They've always kind of been maybe the undersized kind of team, but overachievers. And you look at their lineup now. Still, you don't see a lot of big guys, but that's certainly something that you hope you can take advantage of. But they're going to come out shooting the basketball.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they probably lean a little bit more towards a skill game as opposed to maybe a power game, but yeah, they'll definitely be they'll be well coached. They'll be scrappy.
From the guys that you've seen watching tape, and they do have new guys you've not seen on tape yet, is there somebody that maybe jumps off the page that you're going to try and really try and stop tomorrow?
Kid Johnson, jumps out. I believe his number hasn't changed yet. Stephon, pretty talented. Does a little bit of everything. Kind of a do-all forward. He's left-handed, but he can score both ways, and he's 6'6", and he's kind of bouncy and wiry, and does a lot of things. Maybe not so much a three-point shooter, but he's very active around the rim. Can cause you some issues. And the other kid, Moore, number 35, is they're their leading returning scorer. About 10 points a game. Can really shoot the three. Those guys kind of jump out right off the bat. Is probably the most experienced guys. And the point guard, the new kid, Davis, is scrappy. And kind of knows how to play and does a really nice job getting shots for everybody else.
Well, we're going to take our first break right now, Coach. When we come back, we'll talk more about Gardner Webb. Of course, South Carolina State coming up, too, on Saturday. And we have our internet questions coming up as well. So a lot to get to here from the 49erfanatics.com broadcast booth. We'll continue with more of the Alan Major Show here on WFNZ The Fan in a moment. Welcome back to Wild Wing Cafe, the Alan Major Show here on WFNZ tonight. Our phone number is 704-570-9610. 570-9610 with Charlie Frederick. I'm Matt Swarad and Niners head coach Alan Major. Before we get to the internet questions, we have quite a few of them, Coach, here from the 49erfanatics.com broadcast booth. Let's revisit the Bojangles Boat Time. We talked last week with the Queens game, the exhibition game. What was a different making point in that game for y'all, and we've got the game coming up tomorrow against Gardner Webb. What do you think? Let's look at the keys to the game tomorrow. What do you think are some of the things you guys have to do correctly to win?
It's always transition defense. You want to make sure defensively you get back and you get in front of people and you don't give up easy baskets. And early in the year, sometimes when offenses aren't completely clicking, you want to make sure you eliminate the easy ones and make people shoot tough ones or earn tough ones. And then obviously dealing with their ball screen game and their penetration, trying to, get us out of sorts and shoot three-point shots, force them to take tough twos, and then make sure we rebound the ball so they don't get multiple opportunities. And then offensively, just taking our time, making sure we run when we got chances and run with intelligence, and then, get the ball inside. We want to live through that inside-out philosophy.
Coach, we talked about this a little bit last week. You're going to be without Charles Dewhurst and KJ Sherrill, both of them with knee injuries. You got 8 scholarship players. Do you have to scale back the kind of defense that you want to play, or do you still go full bore on defense?
Some of that, the game will determine it. You'd like to to do what you do as much as you can, but also having a zone in mind, and we've started some work on it because it's always good to have a secondary defense. There's very few teams. It's unless you have great depth, it's really hard to play one defense the entire season. You always got to have something in the back of your mind. So, I think a lot of that will be determined by the game, the pace of the game, and what the situation calls for.
Not only your first game as a head coach tomorrow, but also the first for your staff as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
You got assistants Ryan Odom, Desmond Oliver, Orlando Vandross, and Rob Perrin. What are the assignments for each coach during a game?
That's a great question. Ryan has a tendency to lean towards offensively, things that we can run, thinking ahead, working with me, helping me think ahead. And Orlando keeps his eye on the, some defensive things, whether they're trying to do, is there a certain pattern, that they're trying to get into. And then when we come to those timeouts, you can discuss those things. And then Desmond's kind of in the eyes and the back of all three of our heads and kind of keeps his eye on special situations and subbing patterns and things of that nature. And then Rob keeps an eye on kind of, segments of the game. We try to win certain segments of the game and instead of focusing on a 40-minute game, you try to focus on these little mini segments.
Right.
And so we try to make sure that we just are very aware of how we're doing from one segment to the next.
All right, Coach, we got our first phone call of the season. Let's go to the phone lines, and JC's standing by. By the way, our phone number is 704-570-9610. JC, welcome to the Alan Major Show.
Thank you very much. First of all, Coach, welcome to Charlotte. Hope you like it here.
Thank you, JC.
Listen, been a fan a long time, alumnus from UNCC. It just seems like over the years we've always seemed to live and die by the three-pointer, and I don't know if that's just a necessity of the way the A-10 league is, or is that something that you see yourself kind of staying with, or are you going to bring some more of the inside stuff that we like to see when the Big Ten boys play?
Yeah, that's a great question, JC. You been a coach before? You sound
no,
like
but if you're hiring.
But no, I think you want to develop a pattern of we've kind of mentioned it in the past, of scoring inside out. I think you always want to make sure you shoot threes out of strength, and so we'd like to be that team that can have that pattern of scoring, from the inside out and shoot the threes when we have them, as opposed to you're shooting them out of strength as opposed to relying on them, if that makes sense. So you can develop a balance, but you like to have a balance of both, so you're tough to defend.
Well, JC, thanks so much for the question. By the way, the phone number again, 704-570-9610. We're here until 9 o'clock tonight on WFNZ The Fan with Niners head coach Alan Major, opening up the season tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon against Gardner-Webb, and 7:30 on Saturday against South Carolina State. For tickets, call 704-687-4949. The exhibition game, the Niners beat Queens 94-57. Let's give you the Time Warner Cable bundle package stat stuff of that game. The Niners shot 48% in that ball game, 33 for 69, and as JC just alluded to, the threes, the Niners shot 53% from the three-point line, and 11 of 21 for that one. I guess if you can shoot 53% every game behind the arc, you'll take that, right?
We'll take it. We'll take. Can you guarantee me that right now?
I'm sorry, I can't do that. We'll have the Time Warner Cable stat stuffer every week here on the Coaches Show, brought to us by Time Warner Cable. Call them today. Save on your bundled TV, internet, and phone packages. Call 1-800-TW-CABLE. All right, Coach, let's get to the 49erfanatics.com weekly email segment. And email questions have come in already, and there's one about Phil Jones, a question about Phil coming from Mark Nunn. And he says, Coach, I've been waiting and wanting Big Phil Jones to really break out as a big man for the Niners. I've been seeing improvement over the past couple of seasons, and I was wondering, with your past success coaching big men, have you been working with Phil this season, and could this be the year he really goes beast in the paint?
I like that phrase.
Beast in the paint.
Yeah, I hope so. I think you always want a guy's last year to be his best year. And Phil's, been here at Charlotte a while, and you want him to go out on a high note. I think the big thing, not just with Phil, but with all the bigs, is that you try to emphasize playing with great energy. And, by having four guys kind of in that rotation, or potentially four when we get KJ back, that if each guy can play with great energy, then you like to wear down, the other team's bigs at some point. But that definitely applies to Phil as well, because I think energy can create easy baskets, and easy baskets can create confidence, and confidence can create more energy. So it's kind of a cycle.
Right.
Well, Coach, here's one, too, about we're going to the early season tournament down in Charleston, the Charleston Classic. That'll be next week. And this question comes from Charles Pipkins. He said, yesterday, fields for the ESPN's 2011 early season tournaments came out, each featuring 8-10 schools. Are the Niners close to signing on to an event for next year? And would you ever do something the Niner Nation would not be happy with, such as Charlotte signing up for an event that would have a difficult time advancing to the championship round, like Rhode Island going to the 2K Sports Coaches versus Cancer and taking on number 4 Pitt the other night? They almost beat Pitt, and Rhode Island's a pretty good team, and we were in the preseason NIT last year and did have a tough second-round game. But, you know, if you can win those games, that's when you start getting to the bigger venues, and that's when you really kind of put yourself on the map. So those still are those kind of good things, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're still in the mix of trying to figure out what we're going to do next year. We needed 4 games when we got here in April, and so the mad scramble was on to finish this current schedule, which it still went down to, you know, just about a month ago to finally get it all wrapped up. But yeah, that's something that, you know, we're looking to do next year to see what we can find our way into, because that experience is definitely valuable as you get on later in the year. Absolutely.
Well, I got to put my 2 cents in for Hawaii again. If I can't have Hawaii, I'll take the Virgin Islands. I enjoyed the afternoon at Cinnamon Bay in St. John's. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think, you know, anything of that nature where you got to travel and you know, I don't know the Maui tournament. I know Ryan's dad is involved with it. I don't know what his pull is in terms of being able to do much for Charlotte, but you never know. But he's on that committee, and so we'll see. You know, I think that stuff is valuable, whether it be Hawaii or Virgin Islands, or there's another one in Cancun. I believe Cancun Challenge that some teams have gone to in the past as well.
Puerto Rico was pretty nice, too.
Niners played in Puerto Rico a few years back as well. So, yeah, we went to Santa Clara a few years ago, and it was freezing cold and it was raining. This Nixon that one. All right, Coach.
Cable Car Classic.
That was, but we did win that one, though. Won it a couple of times. This question comes from Michael Hammond. Coach, I know you're a man-to-man defensive coach primarily, but the A-10 is full with guards that have size. Temple, for example, and with our guards not being kind of small physically in comparison, our depth a little thin. How strongly do you believe you can hold to the man-to-man principles? What is the likelihood of seeing zones, possibly matchup zones, to combat this problem? Thanks and good luck. I'm sure that's something you're going to look at later, but early season, look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were just mentioning secondary defenses, and you know, and the zone makes sense for us. I mean, we've already begun to, you know, for lack of a better phrase, dabble and look at it, because you know, despite our size with our guards, you know, they do have some pretty good length and size behind them, and so you know, having a zone that could take up some space and crowd the floor, it definitely holds some merit for us.
Just because someone's smaller doesn't mean they're not a good defender. And
Right.
What are some of the guys, like, say, let's take Deuce for instance, Briscoe. What are some of his strengths and that he is very good at defensively?
Yeah, I think you want little guys to kind of have a Energizer Bunny mentality, where they're always nipping at their guys' ankles, and you know, you use your speed and you use your quickness. Maybe you get a fingertip on the ball, but you want to have great energy and activity. And so I think that's something that he can do, because yeah, that's a great point. You know, size sometimes you know, doesn't always mean you're a great defender, and you can be a crafty one and an intelligent one. So some of that is energy, and then some of that is scouting. You know, it's who's the guy you're guarding, and you know, knowing every bit that you can about, you know, what his tendencies are, and that can also add to the physical part of it as well. You also want to try to beat guys with your brain.
Coach, this question comes from Vlad Stefanescu, and question about Chris Braswell, and we had a similar question last week. Isolation plays for Chris. Had that big game against Louisville last year. Niners had that big win at Louisville last season, and he was very consistent getting the ball at the top of the key, beating his man off the dribble for easy layups. You know, he was a freshman a year ago, and he had flashes where he looked very confident on the offensive side. And there were games where he just looked like he was still trying to feel his way.
Yeah.
As you've seen him in the preseason and as he gets ready for the opener tomorrow, what have you seen in improvement in his game offensively, and what you plan on using him in that role tomorrow the season goes on.
Yeah, I think he's a tremendous energy guy, which is great because he's always around the ball. If you know, I know you've obviously seen Charlotte play a ton, and one of the things when I was watching him on film over the summer, he just seemed to have a nose for the basketball. He was always around it, and what he's tried to add is a little jump hook to where now he can. Not only does it have to be a drive, sometimes it's a post move where you have a guy on your back, and now you can get the ball to the middle of the floor and shoot a jump hook over a guy. So you're always trying to add to the things that you already have. But yeah, I think some of that's matchup related. If he has a guy that he can put the ball on the floor and get around, and started the game ironically with one last week. You know, the first bucket of the game, he kind of turned and wheeled on the guy and laid it in. And I think he had another one in the second half. Might have had two of them. So, and then always, you know, you're grooming that little 10 to 15-foot jump shot that you like bigs to be able to have in their package. Not that they rely on it, but if it's there and it's within the realm of what you're doing, it's always a nice thing to have in their hip pocket.
When you're coaching big guys, and here's a guy that you didn't see play, maybe you did as an assistant coach somewhere, but talking about his 4 years with the 49ers, Curtis Withers turned out to be a very, very good player for the 49ers. But when he was a freshman, as strong as he would go to the basket, at the end he wanted to finish with a little finger roll, and he wasn't getting fouled and wasn't finishing. By the end of the season, he was by the end of his career, he was dunking everything he could.
Yeah.
When you see guys like Phil and Chris, it seemed like they just didn't want to finish strong. And as you teach the big guys, how hard is it to get that mentality in them to just want to just finish strong?
Yeah, that's it's you have to almost regroove a habit of just gathering yourself because, you know, if a guard gets pushed, you know, it's a foul. When a big gets pushed, it's stop crying, keep playing, because those guys play a different game, you know. So contact is all, you know, the price of admission, you know, when you're a big guy. And so a big part of it is just focusing on the finish as opposed to focus on getting hit. And sometimes guys may focus on dealing with the contact versus dealing with the finish. So it's just building that mentality and getting consistent with, you know, putting that ball in the rim at the end and keeping your eyes up and you know, kind of focusing on the task at hand.
Because both those guys are such good free throw shooters too.
Yeah, very much so.
You know, even if they don't finish with it, they probably go to the free throw line, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Our phone number is 704-570-9610. I want to thank all the folks that sent some internet questions in this week. We'll be giving away that $20 gift card also from 49erfanatics.com a little bit later in the show, picking one of those questions, and you'll get email with the gift card code coming up tomorrow. Again, the number is 704-570-9610. The internet questions brought to us by 49erfanatics.com. And a lot of new stuff, a lot of new apparel, so check them out online as we got the weekend coming up. And, you know, we had that first look at Niner Nation with the exhibition game, great student showing. And tomorrow with the early game, hopefully it's going to be a nice crowd tomorrow to really kick things off. But it's a big weekend on campus, not just you guys playing, but the volleyball team senior night. You've got also the women's basketball team playing in the preseason NIT at home on Saturday. The soccer team's playing.
Yeah.
So you guys have a lot of things going on. And have you had a chance to get out there and see some of the other teams play yet?
Here and there, yeah, and it was tough because in that whole recruiting period, you know, we were gone just about every other weekend or so, and gotten to poke in a couple of volleyball games, a couple of soccer games, and yeah, this weekend there'll be a lot going on. Get there early and park would be my first suggestion.
Exactly.
But no, it's an exciting time, and you know, hopefully we'll get to catch a little bit of the volleyball game. We got to do some, you know, once our game's over tomorrow, we'll have to go prep a little bit for South Carolina State, but. Hopefully, you know, catch the tail end of that game as well.
Coach, thanks so much, and we're going to continue with more of the Allen Major Show. We've got Dario Green as our special guest this week. We'll step aside with you and have him come in. We'll bring you back in at the back end of the show and get ready for this the big weekend of games with Gardner-Webb and South Carolina State.
Sounds good.
We'll continue with more of the Allen Major Show from Wild Wing Cafe right after these messages. To the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe with Charlie Frederick. I'm Matt Sporad and Niners head coach Allen Major. Time now for our player interview segment brought to us by Ortho Carolina. And our special guest is Dario Green. Dario, great to see you again.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. About you?
I'm doing great. You guys ready to go tomorrow night? Got Gardner-Webb coming in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes, sir. We're ready.
You can't sleep in tomorrow.
No, I can't. That's usually my day to sleep in is Fridays.
So how's it been? You know, the off season getting ready to go, and all the off season programs now over, and This is your second season with the 49ers. What do you expect?
I'm expecting us to have a very good season. Coach Major's preparing us well. He's not taking it easy on us at all. Ever since he got here from the summer, he kind of established a work hard mentality as soon as he got here. So I think it's going to be a really good season.
Dario, you guys played Gardner-Webb last December, won by about 29 points, I think it was. Do you try to just put that out of your mind? Just this is a new year, a new team.
Yes, sir. It's a new year. I think they have a new coach and some new players, and they're also missing some. So we can't really go off last year, but hopefully we'll get the win again.
Is it going to be strange starting at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, or how do you approach that?
We just have to prepare a little bit earlier. All the stuff we would do later, we're going to do a little bit earlier. Like you said, I can't sleep in, so that kind of throws me off routine, but we'll be fine.
Dario, you've had some huge games over the years, and you seem to play over the year that you've been at Charlotte. You seem to play your best against big-name teams. You had 34 at UMass, 31 against Georgia Tech, 26 against Temple, 20 at the University of Louisville. Something about the big-name opponent seems to light you up.
I just play with a chip on my shoulder, especially against teams like that, because they kind of look down on us and don't really think we should be on the court with them. So every time we go out there, we try to prove something.
Do you actually get that sensation from them, or is it things they say? Or
sometimes they're talking a little noise on the court, and their fans try to let us have it sometimes, but we don't let that get to us, and we just play Charlotte 49er basketball.
Your parents are here tonight, coming up from Florida to watch the opening weekend.
Yes, sir.
That's got to be nice.
That's great. I haven't seen them in a few months, so it's nice to see my parents.
You know, going away to school to play here in Charlotte, it is an adjustment. It's your second year now. How's that adjustment been? You had a good first year, but what's it like coming back for year two?
Just a new attitude. You got to approach things a little bit different. I know the ins and outs of the games is a little bit slower. Last year was a lot faster. I tried to play a lot out of myself sometimes, and that's why I made a lot of mistakes. So, like I said, the games just slowed down, and I think it's going to be a really good season.
Dario, one thing's for certain. You're going to see a lot of playing time because you're the starter at 2 guard. You're the primary backup at point guard. How have you prepared yourself to play maybe 35, 36 minutes a game?
As soon as Coach Major got here, he made sure we were going to be ready to play a very long time, starting at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I'm well prepared to hopefully play 30-plus minutes or however long Coach Major needs me.
When last season you were filling in with the backup point guard position when Dwan Harris was sitting down, you had some good games. You had some games when you said that it was still a work in progress for you. Do you feel like you're more comfortable now to play both roles?
I do. Like I said, I learned under Dwan, which is a great point guard. And like I said, the game is slowed down. So I feel like I can make better decisions, and I'll do a lot better under pressure. Now,
you did play with Dwan a long time last season where, Dwan knew your tendencies and got you the ball. Now you're playing with a new point guard and Deuce. How's the relationship been so far?
It's a great relationship. Deuce is a much different point guard. He has a trigger finger on him, but that's always good because he can stretch the defense. But we're still learning to play with each other, but once we get it going, I think it's going to be one of the best backcourts in the A-10 and hopefully in the nation.
That's a great point, though, because it's kind of a double threat now. Sometimes, Dwan would take the three when it was given to him, and he was very good at hitting it, but didn't really kind of force his offense. We saw in the Queens game, that even when he gets into a little bit of a situation where he might be cut off, he has the moves, talking about Briscoe, to still get a shot up and hit it. So that's going to free you up a little bit more, you would think, right?
Yes, sir. Teams aren't going to be able to double off Shamari, and they're not going to be able to press on me because Deuce can go for 30. I think he did it several times at NC Central. So having Deuce is going to open this offense up a lot.
What do you think, when you look at this team right now, is your strength?
Our big man. Our strength. Shamari Spears is a wide load. Phil Jones is improving every day, and Chris Braswell is a very versatile big man.
How have they gotten better from last year?
Toughness. I think Phil Jones is playing tougher, Braswell is tougher, and Spears has always been tough, and I think he's starting to rub off on Chris Braswell and Phil, and also KJ, but unfortunately he's injured right now.
I talked to Phil at one of the practices before the exhibition game, and you can kind of sense when you talk to him that he realizes it's his senior season now, and this is it for him here, and he wants something special to happen. He seems to have a really good attitude right now.
Yes, sir. Not only him, but team as a whole, the seniors are really stepping up and making sure that they go out with a bang, and that the underclassmen, we're going to do all we can to help them.
Talking with Dario Green. Hey, when I did talk to Phil, I said, how's Gokin doing? I said, he's still shooting the ball great, but still needs to get a little bit stronger, but he is as good as anyone shooting the basketball. We saw that in the Queens game, and here's another threat as he got some time, and he's probably going to get some more time this year. A guy coming off the bench that could spread the defense.
Yes, sir. Gokin's an excellent shooter. Like you said, he can spread the defense. He does need to get a little bit stronger. I think we all do, especially me too. But when he's in there, he doesn't miss, so I tend to look for him and get an assist off of him.
In fact, I saw you set him up for a basket in the Queens game, and right as he caught the ball, you were already giving the 3 sign.
Yes, sir. I knew it was going in. I was just beating the ref to the 3-point sign.
Last week we had Colby Lewis on here. We said, who's the best 3-point shooter? He said he was. Well, that can't be true, right?
It's a toss-up between Gokin and Colby. And then
you're not going to put yourself in there?
No, I'm not up there with them. Phil can actually shoot it pretty well, but he doesn't do it in the game as much. But it's between Colby and Gokin.
You guys are a close-knit group, and Colby's got the task this year of taking that little video camera on the road to get some stuff for the website this year. You got to watch out for him, I think, because you don't want to be put in one of those little moments where you might be embarrassed.
Yes, sir. Colby's a jokester, so I do have to watch out for him.
All right, Dario, what are you looking forward to most about tomorrow?
The fans. I love when they're out there and love when they're screaming, so that's the most important thing.
And I think they love you too, so we're looking forward to it tomorrow. Dario, great to see you.
Thank you.
Always good to talk with you, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Dario Green's been our guest on the Allen Major Show, opening up tomorrow, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Our pregame show at 3:30. Tickets 704-687-4949. Charlie and I come back with Niners head coach Allen Major, our final segment. Again, the phone number is 704-570-9610. This is the Allen Major Show from Signature Sports Group. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show from Wild Wing Cafe. Our phone number is 704-570-9610. We're here until 9 o'clock. Open the season at 4 o'clock tomorrow against Gardner Webb. Our pregame show over on 1660 WBCN starting at 3:30. Well, Coach, Charlie wanted to ask you a question about the Queens game that we had about a week and a half ago, and just about over a week ago, and the big win in the exhibition game, getting ready for the season, and what some other teams around the country have done in their exhibition games against kind of similar opponents.
Right. Coach, you guys beat Queens by 37 points, and you can't make too much of that. They are
Right.
a D2 team. You're supposed to beat them. But you look at around the area, around the nation, the Davidson Wildcats, one of our rivals, only beat Lenore Ryan, which is a D2 team, by 4 points. They struggled. Tennessee, which we play at Bobcats Arena, Time Warner Cable Arena, on December 17th, lost by 15 or 17 points to Indianapolis. Last year, Syracuse lost to a little school by the name of Lemoyne.
Yeah,
I know they
that's
turned
right.
it around this year. But D2 teams can provide quality competition, and we shouldn't just say, oh, that didn't count for anything.
No, not at all. No, the thing that people probably don't quite realize is that whenever you hear that word D2, you automatically think lesser ability or lesser talent, and what you run into sometimes, there's guys at D2s that were Division I players. And for whatever reason, sometimes it was a transfer, guy falls through the cracks, academically, whatever the case may be. Maybe he's a Division I guy level-wise, but he went to a junior college, and he decided to go Division II. And so there's a lot of times Division I talent at the Division II level, and anymore that line is very fuzzy at times between Division I and Division II. So, I'm just glad we took care of business and take care of our own backyard. So, but no, that line is very thin these days.
Thank you.
Our phone number again, 704-570-9610. We got about 10 minutes left of the show, and we do have the back-to-back games. So when you prepare for these two games, you got Gardner Webb tomorrow. You've got to also prepare a little bit, in practice with South Carolina State. We touched on Gardner Webb. What can you tell us about South Carolina State?
I tell you, they're a very good team. I mean, they had 18 wins last year and 4 starters back. So they've been through some fires, and they're an up-tempo team. They're going to try to get them down the floor. They'll push it on you. They'll drive the ball. They get into some driving kick mode. They got 2 wings that can really shoot, and they're well coached. And so those games will, for us, would be a great challenge coming off of, fresh off of 24 hours or a little bit over 24 hours of playing the night before. But very well coached team and experience, so we're looking forward to that one as well.
As we got from Dario, we know the guys are in great shape. They're well conditioned. But as you do have the back-to-back games against two teams that probably will want to run the basketball a little bit, had you taken into account that when you had practice this week? Did you change anything in terms of maybe trying to keep the legs a little fresher, or is it the adrenaline's going to be there because it's the first weekend, we're going to play our game and just go at it?
Yeah, you try to structure practice as much as you can from a game tempo. Not that you're going up and down the whole time, because you always have those moments where you got to teach and you got to stop and talk. But we try to get up and down and simulate the game as much as possible. And going from one drill to the next, you try to keep it where there's not a lot of walking, not a lot of talking. So the way you practice and then the things within what you do, you try to keep those as much game speed as you can.
Coach, give us an idea of what the players will be going through this weekend with 2 games in 2 days. The first game at an odd time.
Yeah.
I guess they got to go to class tomorrow too.
They better. So hey, let's just get that out right now.
Get that straight right now.
But no, we'll have shoot around during the day, and then they'll get a quick meal, probably around noon, and then obviously the game at 4, and then once the game's over, we'll put some more food in them again and make sure they try to get off their feet, and we'll kind of put some South Carolina State as much as we can in their brain after the game. And the good thing is, it's not another afternoon game Saturday. It's a little bit later, so they'll get a little chance to rest Saturday morning, and then we'll have shoot around that afternoon, and then we'll have that another pregame meal that afternoon, and then play that night. So it's a very mental thing, and I'm as curious probably as anybody to see how we handle that, this being our first time going through it and my first time going through it with these guys, of come off Friday night, get the information in their brain for the next team, and then turn around and play again on Saturday. So as we mentioned at the start of the show, it's really going to give us a feel for how it'll be in Charleston.
Last night I was driving home and I was listening to something on satellite radio, and I'm not sure if you ever heard it, but Coach K has his own talk show, and he was talking with Bill Belichick last night, and 2 great coaches just talking about philosophy of coaching and how they got into it. And being a Patriots fan, I was fascinated listening to Bill Belichick. And
basketball and beyond.
Basketball and beyond, that's right. And Bill Belichick's dad was a football coach, and as a kid he was with them all the time, and he kind of developed a love of wanting to be around the game and then to be a coach. When did you know that you wanted to be a coach? Just take us back to how it all kind of started for you. What drove you? What was your passion to get in this side of the basketball world?
I was probably the only sports, out of 5 kids. We had some musicians, and my one sister liked the drums, another sister played clarinet. My brother, was kind of into the music side. I played trombone up until 7th grade, and I said, "The heck with this thing. Where's the basketball at?" But I'd say probably around 13 years old, 14. It was just a very odd way that it happened, because I had a basketball court in our backyard, and I'd be out there all the time. And as I'd get older, you'd have younger kids, 9, 10, 11, that would come and play, and all of a sudden, a 2-on-2 game ends up a 4-on-4 game, and in those scenarios, a lot of times I'd be older than, or one of the older kids in the group, and you just find yourself trying to help the guys that you're playing with, like, hey, let's get a good shot, don't do this, do that. I don't know if I was coaching them, but I knew I liked it.
Yeah.
And as I got into high school, I always I was always thinking the game. I was in my high school coach's ear all the time about things, and talked to him about it, before I graduated high school, and just got some suggestions from him, and that's how the whole manager at Purdue thing came about. That was his suggestion. And so, it's like anything else. I mean, you can grow up your whole life wanting to be a doctor, and then you see your first surgery, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, the heck with this. But I've been blessed enough to love coaching as much as I thought I would, and you never know that till you really get into what you're doing. So I'm definitely one of the lucky ones.
Are you more sensitive in the mentoring role, having come up the way you did through the ranks of being a manager at Purdue, and I just found out tonight from Matt Messina, one of our managers, that Kyle Church, who wanted to be a coach, is now a grad assistant at Ole Miss, which is great.
Yep.
And the guys that maybe are walk-ons that maybe want to be a coach later, is that something that you've had in the past, whether it be Xavier or Ohio State, where you understand what they're doing because that's how you got there?
From a manager standpoint?
Yeah, that or just guys that they want to be on the team, maybe just a practice player because they just want to learn as much as they can.
Absolutely. No, you kind of have a soft spot in your heart for guys that because I literally came into coaching through the back door and probably through the back window, really. Probably more of a break-in. But, just was fortunate enough, between guys like, Gene Cady and Steve Lavin, who was at Purdue at the time as a grad assistant, to just meet guys. Bruce Weber was there at the time as an assistant at Purdue. He's at Illinois now. I've just been surrounded by people that have always extended a hand to help me. And what that makes you want to do, it's kind of like Woody Hayes at Ohio State, used to talk about pay forward. And I think the only way that you can help, guys, young guys that want to get into coaching now is share with them what I went through, but also you try to help them any way you can, because I can never repay the people that have helped me. But the only way to do that is to try to pay forward to the people that I'm around now.
I know you've made great impressions already in the short time you've been here. I got a great phone call at home on Monday night, and it was Ian Anderson, former Niner, graduated last year.
Yeah.
And Ian called us to say hi and see how we're doing, and he's excited to come out and see us in Corvallis in a couple of weeks. And he said the short period of time he spent with you, he never got to play for you, but you made a great impression on him, and he's really excited for you and wishes you the best.
Yeah, he's great. I got to meet him and his little baby and wife right before he left town, and they had a little spring banquet for the athletes in the springtime, and would have loved to coach them. He just had a tremendous spirit, and we want him to be, I think we mentioned last week, that former player event that we have, and that we're going to continue to have every September. We want him to be, one of those guys that comes back for that, and we want to grow that event more and more. We're just having breakfast with Phil Jones yesterday, and I said, hey, if you ever once you get out of here, if you're in town and you don't come to that thing, you're gonna deal with me. But we want guys, because we don't want guys to leave Charlotte and once they're done, it's like, hey, have a nice life. That's it. You want a different relationship to begin, even though the basketball relationship is over.
Well, Coach, any final thoughts before the weekend gets going for you? Just full tilt tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Just excited to see the Niner Nation again. Every time I say those two words, I get the goosebumps going. So looking forward to see the Niner Nation tomorrow, and look forward to seeing all you guys as well.
It is a lot of fun. In fact, today I was just making a list. I've been doing this for so long. It's my 10th year doing the radio, and just all the great places we've been to. And being to Ohio State and Xavier, you guys have made great trips as well. And I'm telling you, all the places that I've been, it's been some great moments. I still don't get the feeling that I get when I walk into Halton on a big night. So it's a special place. I know you're going to enjoy it. Yeah. Wish you the best of luck and looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Alan Major, the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. We'll be back again next week, but don't forget, in fact, next week we're not going to be here because we have the tournament. We're back on the 29th of November. It's our next show. It's on a Monday night. It's the only Monday this season, so please make your plans for that one. November 29th, the Alan Major Show. Next week we'll be down to the Charleston Classic, but don't forget tomorrow pregame show 3:30. 4 o'clock tip against Gardner-Webb. That'll be on 1660 WBCN. The Alan Major Show brought to you in part by Masson, the home of college basketball. College basketball in Masson, this game is true. Be here at Wild Wing Cafe November the 18th. The first Masson viewing party. Niners take on George Mason in that Charleston Classic down in Charleston, South Carolina. It'll be right here at Wild Wings on Masson. That's going to do it for us. For Charlie Frederick and Coach Alan Major, I'm Matt Swerat. Thanks so much for listening and joining us here at the restaurant tonight. Good crowd again as well. Travis Hancock, Darryl McCray from WFNZ, thank you as well. And we'll see you tomorrow, 3:30 in the pregame show from Halton. So long, everybody.